And welcome back to more Hollow Knight. This is episode 2 getting underway. And we're starting out where we left off last time, at the beginning of a new area. This place is called Greenpath. And Greenpath is a very fitting name. It's a kind of lush, plant life-laden type of zone with lots of plants and bushes and of course new critters. So that little guy is called a mosskin, and then his big brother down there with the kind of orange cloud fuming all around him, it's called a volatile mosskin, because look at that, they will blow up, and that gaseous cloud will damage you, so you do want to avoid that. That is called a fool eater, kind of a Venus flytrap type of plant. And the little green bush that popped out of nowhere right as I started talking at the beginning, here's another one here. That's called moss creep. So again, a very plant-like type of zone, lots of pools of acid and bushes and waterfalls in the background, etc., etc. Welcome to Greenpath, Devatron. Okay, so another jump we can't make. And a very mysterious figure up there. Looked to be a bug with kind of like big horns, much bigger than our little heroes. And kind of a dress, so maybe a female bug. And what appeared to be a nail, but it was a little bit longer, more like a needle maybe. So the mystery thickens here as we venture further into Greenpath, Devatron. And those flying little critters with the pointy nose that dart at you, those are called squits. Kind of like squid, the sea creature, but instead of a D, it's a T, as in Tom, as the last letter, squit. And they're not that difficult, but when they kind of just hover there and then all of a sudden dart at you, it makes it a little tricky to challenge their attack, so that you can time it just right. You see there, I swung too soon. So, really not that hard at all, but they can be a little bit annoying.
Make him no kuchin.
Okay, so as promised, I immediately went to where Cornifer is in the new area, and we purchased the map for Greenpath. So let's get away from his humming and have a map break and have a look at it. All right, welcome to the first Greenpath map break. You can see where we are. Here's our little bug head icon because we have the compass equipped. So yeah, we just got here. There's not really much to say. And we really haven't been able to go any other direction than the one we've gone. We started the episode here, made our way across a few screens here. There was a bench here, if you recall. And The only thing of kind of interest is when we entered here, there was a ledge we couldn't jump to, and that's where that mysterious figure with the dress and the needle, we'll call it. This is where they were, and then they kind of ran off. So it looks like there's a way to go to the left. And if you look over here, it looks like, maybe these will connect up at some point. So there's not much we can do about it now. Otherwise, we've just gone the way we could have gone, down and through here, and then we bought the map here from Cornifer. The good news is, if these do connect up, it looks like we can get to it from here, and we can get to there from where we are by just heading down and then all the way left and then up into here. So that's our basic plan. We really don't know much more about this area other than that. There's some interesting iconography going on over here. We don't know what these things are. And of course, there are several different ways to go, but it's a new area. So let's just explore.
Möts pour babis.
So the Hunter's Journal. I will open this up and show it to you briefly here, but don't get your hopes up. It's pretty anticlimactic. It's a nice touch like a lot of these games that have a bestiary or whatever, but it doesn't have a lot of useful information. It lists the things that you encounter and fight, and then if you defeat a certain amount more, it'll unlock the, Hunter's Notes. But like I said, the Hunter's Notes are never anything worthwhile. So it's fun to have, and I do access this behind the scenes in order to get all the names of the critters. Because, like you've seen already so far, I do enjoy naming them and talking about, how to fight them and stuff like that. But I'm never actually going to just open up the journal for you and say, hey, let's have a look at the Hunter's Journal, Devatron. You know what I mean? So it's there, know about it. Otherwise, just enjoy the voiceover version of it instead. All right, so the mysterious bug returns, and it definitely looked like a pink dress to me, Devatron. So maybe this is a female bug, which could work out. Maybe like a romance or something. We'll see. As for these new critters that just sort of float around and spit orange balls in 4 diagonal directions, those are called obbles. O-B-B-L-E. And they're not very difficult, nothing really to them. You just have to kind of watch where you position yourself, because those orange diagonal spitballs can get you if you're not careful. Holy cow, Devatron, what was that? That's called a moss charger. And it's a big, giant ball of moss. But really, it's just a little bug inside. You notice when I hit the big ball of moss, it disperses, and then I can get at the little guy inside. Watch this. You see that? That's all there is to them. So they're pretty scary at first, but once you get them down, they're not too much trouble. Okay, so more appearances from this mysterious bug in the pink dress, and it definitely feels like she wants us to follow her, or she's trying to get us to chase her, you know, because it's like we just get up to her and then she hops away and we can't get her. But she's kind of leading us, you know what I mean? So maybe this really will be some kind of bug romance, Devatron. You know, she's playing hard to get right now. It's the chase. So yeah, we'll see where this leads. But what do we have here? All right, so a toll machine, and for 50 geo, it opened the gate, blocking the way, and provided us with a bench, so not a bad deal. Generally, toll machines reopen stag lines. You have already seen us do that in the Forgotten Crossroads, and we'll find many more throughout the world. But sometimes, like there, you can pay a toll and they'll open a gate or give you a bench or something like that. So some kind of reference to a higher being or a deity of some sort named Un, U-N-N, perhaps an architect or designer behind this very leafy, foliage-laden world we find ourselves in. We don't quite know, but just keep Un in the back of your mind for now. Okay, so a pretty formidable nail and shield wielding Moss Knight is what those are called. Pretty tough enemy. They'll block most attacks, even from above if you try to nail tap them. So you're best off just blasting them with magic from a distance. If you're out of soul, then you have to hit them with the nail, and that's much easier said than done. What you have to do is wait for them to swing and commit to that attack, and then you can move in and hit them while their guard is down. The problem is sometimes they'll do a double swing, and when you move into attack, they'll swing again and hit you. So they're pretty tricky, and they can be pretty nasty if you don't get the timing right and if you don't have a lot of soul to blast them with magic.
Bacala, man?
Know this, cur. I am Zote the Mighty, a knight of great renown. This guy is just absolutely hilarious, and I don't want to spoil anything, but as you can probably guess, we'll be hearing from him again. As for the big giant Vengefly, kind of mini boss, let's call it a Vengefly King. Not too hard. You can just jump and nail tap them as they swoop by, or hit them with magic. Trouble with that, as you saw, is that it'll hover up and down, and sometimes your spell will miss. But otherwise, not too bad. So a good contrast there, you can immediately see how much more beneficial it is to use the spell attack on those guys than to just try to hack them down with your nail alone. The first one took me forever to kill because I didn't use any magic. The second one, I used all my soul and dumped 3 vengeful spirits into the guy, and then he fell with just 1 nail strike after that. So definitely want to use magic on these guys if you can.
Drossik Halimo. Garama. Edina. Shaw. Shaw. Edina. Shaw.
Wow, so quite a bit going on. First of all, we found the mysterious bug in the pink dress, and her name is Hornet, and she put up quite a fight. Second, we have our first platforming ability, the dash, which is greatly needed. And second, we were just sort of interrupted by these three mysterious figures who talked about breaking the seals and leave us alone and leave us to our rest. So there's a lot to sort of think about here, but there isn't much to go on. You know, it's all very mysterious.
Mana matu churo namen.
All right, so the Lake of Un, and apparently a dead end, and some sort of strange temple or former temple to Un, this mysterious creator or architect of whom we read about on that esoteric inscription earlier. And we met Quirrell again inside there, so we'll continue to meet him as he explores, Hallow Nest and all these areas, kind of convergent with our own exploration. As for our new move, Dash, I just can't quit hitting the button. You know, it's great. Once you finally get Dash, you just have to always hit it. It's so much fun. Okay, so another quick map break. You can see where we are right here. And notice I opened the map through the inventory, and when you do that, you see the whole world. Or at least the parts of the worlds for which you have a map. So here's the first part where we started, King's Pass and Dirtmouth, and then here's the edge of the Forgotten Crossroads. We came from this way. And I'll be doing more of this later once we get more and more of the map, but for now there's not much to see. So at any rate, this is where we did our last map break here, came down, made our way up, and then we had to kind of, shimmy up and over. We rescued Zote the Mighty up here and fought the Vengefly King. And then we actually came kind of back down and around and then through here and fought Hornet right here. And presumably these three kind of pillars in this icon that we don't quite know what it is represent those three figures that sort of spoke to us after we fought Hornet. Said, leave us be, leave us to our rest. Somewhere over here is the Lake of Un, and that little temple where we met Quirrell. But for the most part, we just, we got our ability here, and then now we're here. We found a bench and a stag station. So from here, what I'm going to do, there's a whole section here to explore. So we're going to explore it. Head out this way, head down to here. And then we're going to go back through this area that we already were, and right down here is a way to go down, and we're going to head down there and explore here and eventually get into a new area and see where this takes us. So I didn't really get to talk too much about the hornet fight because a lot just happened all at once, and then we had our map break, etc. The hornet fight is, in a lot of ways, the first really hard fight in the game. Obviously, some people are going to be better at this game than others, or these types of games. But even if you're pretty good at them, the hornet fight is the first one that's really going to give you pause, and you're going to die on it. And if you're not good at these games, like me, the hornet fight might take you like a night or two, you know. It's just going to be the first time where you really get stuck on something. And as you saw, once I kind of figured out her pattern, you can pretty much do it without taking damage. It's not that hard. Now, I ended up taking damage, and it looked a lot closer than it really was at the end. But that's just how it goes, you know, for me a lot of the time. Even when I know what I'm doing, it's just, I can still screw it up. But yeah, it was pretty much flawless just until the end, and then I kind of got sloppy and unlucky on a few things and lost a couple lives, but no big deal. But I did just want to mention that because I don't know how it looked. Sometimes when you watch these players that are really good, and they do these fights and this platforming and stuff without taking damage, you look at it and just say, oh, that looks pretty neat, you know, but you don't really have a good idea of just how difficult it is if you don't take damage. So at any rate, that was a big milestone for me on my first playthrough when I was first learning the game. So it's pretty satisfying at this point just to go in there and, you know, do Hornet without dying. I mean, maybe lose a few lives, but, you know, I don't have to die and wipe and start over, etc., etc. Okay, so a new critter. Looks like some kind of plant that clings to the wall and then spits balls at you, and you have to hit them back at them with your nail. A lot harder than it looks. Those are called gulkas. And then just down here, you're going to see a big guy wading in the acid. That's called a durandu. And they're pretty peaceful, but, you know, they will hurt you if you hit them. Okay, so Fog Canyon, this is a new area. I have to apologize. Usually when we get to a new area, like at the start of this episode, you get the big white kind of embroidery type of label and the nice font for the name of the new area. And what happened is when I first went here on this save slot, I ended up going a different way that didn't work out. So I had to reload from the last bench I rested at, and then I filmed this. So that's why you didn't get the nice, pretty embroidery. Now, as for these critters floating about, they're kind of like electric jellyfish, you know. The little ones are called uomas, all right? U-O-M-A. And the big ones are called umas, O-O-M-A. And it's not too bad, but the thing is, if you kill one of the big ones, it shoots like a fireball at you, and it'll take 2 lives if you get hit by it. So you really have to avoid them if you can.
Goa, nu doai la Mac.
Okay, so another appearance from Coral. Always nice to see him. And we're about to enter a new area again. Watch this. See that? You get the big title in big white font and the nice embroidery kind of label. That's what I was explaining we didn't get for Fog Canyon, because I kind of screwed up on that save slot. So this is definitely the first time we've been here, and we're heading right for Cornifer. You can already hear his humming.
Make him noise, Kuchin.
Okay, so we got the map for the fungal wastes. We're not going to explore just yet. We're going to head back toward Queen Station, where we just spoke with Quarrel, and then we're going to have a quick map break there. Alright, so this is going to be a pretty quick map break because we're not actually going to explore the fungal waste just yet. But there's a couple things I wanted to mention really quick. So obviously this is where we are. We had come down through Fog Canyon and over here, spoke with Coral once we hit Queen Station, and then headed over down and bought our map from Cornifer, and then came right back up and over to here. At this point, we're just going to head over here. There's a stag station, and take the stag back to Dirtmouth and take care of a few things and then move on. The reason I went ahead and did a map break is because I want to mention Fog Canyon. You may be wondering, well, that was a new area. Why didn't you go to Cornifer and get the map? You know, because we could have it on our map break now or on our world map for map breaks later, etc. The thing with Fog Canyon, and if you read online about this, like on forums and Steam and stuff like this, nobody quite understands it. I think it was just a sadistic move on the designer's part, the developers' designs. They made it so that you can't really get the map for Fog Canyon until almost the end of the game. You need several platforming abilities, if not all of them. I mean, like some immunities, or this one that allows you to dash through this type of wall. I mean, you'll see it once we get there. It's hard to explain, but you can kind of explore Fog Canyon a little bit right now, and you can get to the room and you can hear Cornifer humming, and it's really cruel because people just pull their hair out saying, I know he's there, I can hear him humming. But again, until you've gone very, very deep into the game and gotten a lot of advanced platforming abilities and whatnot, you're not able to get at him and buy the map. So that's why we didn't immediately go to him and get the map when we were briefly in Fog Canyon, and to whatever extent we pass through there from now until much later in the game, we won't have any map for that area. Now, if you're wondering what that high-pitched kind of screeching is, it's this fragment that's floating over here. See that little white piece? It's kind of glowing. We can't quite get at it yet. We need another platforming tool in order to get to it. So we'll come back to it later. What it is it's a fragment of a mask. If you get 4, you form a whole mask and you get an extra life. So that's how you get more lives. You got to collect those fragments.
Sodo. Sodo. Odolang nato.
Okay, I might confuse you with this choice, the Stalwart Shell. It's a charm. I'll tell you about it later. There's a reason why I went to him and bought his only charm, as opposed to, say, the Mass Shard he has for 150 Geo, which we just talked about. So that's all part of the master plan. I'll explain it in a minute. But first, look who's back in town. So Zote the Mighty, continuing with his delusional rantings.
Bapanada.
And now from a Zelda, finally the Quill Devatron will finally be able to update our map. I also choose to buy the bench pen and the stagway pen. So wherever there are benches or stagways that we find, there'll be a little icon for them on the map as well. So we're going to go to the bench and check that out. I go ahead and show you the charm I just bought. It's not a bad charm. It takes up 2 notches, and whenever you take damage, you're invulnerable for a little bit longer. But I just never use it, and I'll explain to you why I bought that charm in a second. But first, look at our beautiful map, Devatron. Holy shit. All the lines where we've been are nice and solid. We've got the different colors shading all the rooms and pathways we've explored. And we added in all the rooms that weren't on Cornifer's map, you know? So it's just so nice to finally have the quill. And you can also notice there the unexplored parts of, say, the fungal wastes and whatnot. So you get the idea, and now we'll be able to use the map much more effectively, and our map breaks will be, you know, much more pleasing to look at and whatnot. So that's a big step. That's a big milestone, getting that quill. And, you know, the first time you open that map when you've been playing for a long time and haven't been able to update it.
Tima Valava.
Okay, so we took the stag back to Forgotten Crossroads, and we're going to head a little bit down and to the right, to that area where we rescued Sly early in episode 1. And the reason we're going there is because now that we can dash, we're going to be able to jump and dash and reach a ledge where there's a vendor that we couldn't get at before. Her name's Salubra, and she primarily sells charms, but she also sells bonus charm notches. And by acquiring more notches, you can equip more charms at the same time, or bigger and better charms, etc. So it's a big part of the game, and you want to get all the bonus charm notches as soon as possible. The thing with Salubra is they cost Geo, but they also have a prerequisite. You have to own a certain amount of charms before she'll sell them to you, and that increases as you get more and more charm notches. So that's why I bought that charm from Sly, even though I wasn't really going to use it, because I need to start collecting as many charms as I can so I can meet those prerequisites and get more and more charm notches from Salubra.
Mariba Uso.
Okay, so out of respect for Salubra, I won't comment on her sort of robust nature, but at any rate, here are the charm notches. The first one is 120 Geo, and I'll go ahead and check the next one for you. Now it's 500 geo, and I need to own 10 charms total, which at this point for me is 5 more. So again, you keep needing to own more and more and more in order for her to sell the next charm notch to you, and they go up in price. So I did go ahead and buy one charm from her that I could afford. It's called Shaman Stone, and it increases the damage of spells. As I've played this game more and more, I've started to use spells more and more and rely on the nail less and less. And by doing that, I realized that spell builds are really insanely powerful, and they make a lot of fights a lot easier. Now, I love the nail, and melee in this game is fun, and there are a lot of people who prefer that, and that's fine. But getting the Shaman Stone and using spells is a really big-time way to go, and it's what I do for this playthrough. So for me, the Shaman Stone is pretty much the best charm in the game. And there you see it. It's a 3-notch cost, so a little bit pricey on the notch cost, but once we get more notches, it won't be bad. Now, I left, got a little bit more money, came back, and bought Steady Body. Why did I do that? It's a 1-notch cost charm, and what it does is, I don't know if you've noticed, when you hit enemies in this game with your nail, you kind of recoil a little bit. It pushes you back, and when you have Steady Body equipped, that doesn't happen. You just hit them, and you stay exactly where you were when you swung the nail. It doesn't have a lot of use, at least the way I play, but it has a very specific use in one particular boss fight, and I wanted to go ahead and buy it now since it was cheap, only 120 geo, and just kind of get it out of the way and have it so that once I get to that boss fight, it'll be there. And, you know, I'd hate to get all the way to that fight and just realize, oh, I forgot to buy Steady Body. You know what I mean? So that's why I went ahead and bought that, in addition to just, you know, generally expanding our collection so that we can get more notch slots from Salubra down the line. So by the way, those gray kind of worm-like spiky things that are punching in and out of the ground there, you can't damage them at all, but they're actually in the journal. They're called goams, G-O-A-M. And like I said, I'm trying to sort of mention the names and talk about the different enemies as we go. And I had forgotten about them when we were last here, so we will see plenty of them, but now you have a name to go with the face, so to speak. Okay, so heading back down into the fungal wastes. Don't worry about where we are. We'll get it in a map break. As for names to go with these faces, those big balloon-type funguses, those are called fungoons, like fungus and goon. And then the mushroom guys, they're called amblooms, A-M-B-L-O-O-M. I don't know quite what that, means, but anyway, that's their name. And I have to think that there's something of a nod to Super Mario Brothers, right? Where you just killed a lot of mushrooms. Okay, wow, a pretty big fight with some big-ass mushrooms. Those were called Shroomal Ogres, Devatron. And we were rewarded with another bonus notch slot. So, very cool. And again, some master plan action at work. And here, because we left the zone and came back, one of the Shroomel ogres is still here. But they're not too bad, especially with Shaman Stone and some spells. You may have also noticed little tiny mushrooms that didn't really attack you, but you can hit them and gain soul from hitting them. Those are just called little shroomlings, which is kind of a fun name. All right, and since we're, fighting lots of mushrooms, let's add another to the list. That's called a Shroomel Warrior, to go with the Shroomel Ogre. So yeah, lots of fungus down here in the fungal wastes. Okay, and those guys, look at them. If those little green bombs that they shoot out hit you, it takes 2 lives. They're like, super death. So those guys are called sporks, and they're a real pain in the ass. And whenever I get to the bottom there, I always go right, and I need to go left. I've never been able to get that right. I don't know why.
Lien kla, Friden Laya.
All right, so kind of a big bug, like a barbarian bug, and a friendly NPC named Cloth, a strange name, but, we're not going to judge. But she seemed a lot more kind of with it and helpful and nice compared to, say, Zote the Mighty, who is just, delusional and antisocial. Okay, and that guy was called a fungified husk. There's another one. They're similar to the volatile mosskins that we encountered in Greenpath. They have an explosive, kind of gaseous cloud attack. So, best to just sort of get rid of them and move on if you can. Now, as for these pink kind of bouncy mushroom heads that you have to nail tap and use to sort of platform with, I spent days before I realized that you could do that. That was one of the most frustrating early learning curves I had with this game, because I just got stuck. I went all over the map and I couldn't get anywhere further. I could not progress because I had no idea you could hit those with your nail and get like a super jump out of them. Just insane. So even more new critters. These guys are kind of like a praying mantis style of bug. The little ones that fly are called mantis youths, and the bigger ones that stand on the ground, you'll see one right down here, those are called mantis warriors. And they're not too bad, but until you really know how to dodge their attacks and hit them, they can be pretty dangerous. They're very frustrating when they first come at you, because they just seem to always know where you're going to be and they hit you. As usual, the best course of action is to blast them with a spell, especially with Shaman Stone. Again, another reason why, as I played more and more, I relied more and more on spells, not the nail. Oh, yeah. Big time, Devitron. Look at this guy go. The Mantis Claw. Yeah, this is, one of the most important platforming tools, allowing you to slide along walls and edges, and also to launch a fresh jump while you're clinging. So very helpful, and we're immediately allowed to, play around the Mantis Village with it and get to some chests and some geo outcroppings and whatnot that we wouldn't be able to without the Mantis Claw. So it's a lot of fun, and like I said, one of the most important platforming tools in the game. Okay, so that latch released a very big hatch that allows us to go down deeper into Mantis Village, but we're not going to do that just yet. So those miniature versions there of the Fungoons, they're called Funglings, by the way. Never had a chance to mention their name. But more important, look what we pick up here. It's a Wanderer's Journal, okay? What that is a relic, and there are 4 types of relics in the game. The Wanderer's Journal, the Hallownest Seal, the King's Idol, and the Arcane Egg. Basically, they just collect in your inventory as you find them, and then there's a specific vendor in the capital city who will trade you those for geo. So they're basically just another way to acquire geo, and accordingly they're important, especially early on when we need as much geo as we can get. Okay, and another grub that we've managed to rescue, and little by little we're finding more of those guys and returning them to their rightful homes. So as for our general direction, we are coming up on an hour here, so I'm going to end the episode soon, but there's a few more things to do, and you'll probably be glad to hear that we're about to do another map break, because we certainly have been running around a lot. So let's break out the map and put it all in perspective, Devitron. Okay, so another quick map break just before we finish this episode. I know the fungal waste can be kind of confusing, disorienting, so I'll try to get your bearings and make this quick. We had just come from Salubra and the Forgotten Crossroads, where we got our bonus charm notch, and we entered the fungal waste here and made our way down. We did a quick left and fought the 2 fungal ogres and got our next bonus charm notch from them. And you may remember we popped down briefly and flipped a switch right there, but then came back up and over this way and basically just followed the path down here and then over here. Now, we're not at a bench, so we don't see these updated parts, but basically all of this was just the Mantis Village, where we got the Mantis Claw, and instead of going down deeper, we just came back up the way we came up here. Only difference is we took a left here instead of going up. And then we explored up here, just rescued that grub a second ago, and now we're back over here doing our map break. We're not actually going to go down this drop way. I was mistaken. I turned back, come up here. We're going to explore here. There's a relic up here to get. Come back down and then come up this way. The reason when we were here earlier that we flipped that switch is so we would be able to come up this way now. And then we're kind of going to retrace our steps. Go back through, down, around, come down to here. The only difference is at this point we're going to take a hard right and then go through this platforming challenge and get to this statue And that's basically where we'll end the episode, and you'll see what it is when we get there. Now, one thing that I failed to mention in the map break is that right here I'm taking a quick left and hitting up Queen Station, because now that we have Mantis Claw, we can get at this mass shard in there that we weren't able to do before. All right, so there you have it. A little bit anticlimactic, but like I said, when you get 4 of those shards, you complete a full mask, and then you get an extra life. So as for the platforming, a little bit hairy. I kind of was trying to do it fast and look cool, so I screwed up that first time. When I kind of took it slow and did it the right way, wasn't too bad. But you can see that, you know, the Mantis Claw is going to enable us to do just so much more and get at, you know, a lot more of these areas that we weren't able to get at before. Okay, a pretty harrowing gauntlet there with all those bombs going off. But the Hallownest Seal is worth it. Those are worth 450 geo apiece. I believe the Wanderer's Journals are 200. The King's Idols are worth 800. And the Arcane Eggs, which I believe there are only 2 of in the whole game, those are worth like 1,200 or something. And there's another Wanderer's Journal, so you can see we're starting to, you know, collect these, and they're going to help us out with our, you know, our geo funds. Okay, I kind of opened the map and just sit here for a second. I guess I was thinking I would do another map break, but it seems a little too soon, so I didn't bother with it there. And you may just have that from time to time where I was playing and thinking maybe I'll put one in, but now that we're in editing mode, it's not appropriate. And then again, sometimes, I don't think that's what happened there, but sometimes I'm literally lost and, you know, I need to open the map and figure out where I'm going. Even though I've played this game a ton, it's just still disorienting from time to time and I lose my way. So remember how the last time I was there and I said every time I'm at that spot and I need to go left and I go right instead, and I can't figure out why I always do that. Well, I just did it again. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Guilty as charged. Okay, so here ends the Pilgrim's Way. If we recall, at the end of last episode, we were about to enter Greenpath, and we saw a sign that says, "Here begins the Pilgrim's Way." So, presumably, we have traversed the Pilgrim's Way, and we are about to enter the heart of Hallownest and its capital city. So, once I get done fumbling this relatively easy platforming stretch, we will flip some levers that'll extend a bridge over this lake of acid, and we will hopefully gain entrance to the Hallownest capital city, and that's where we'll start it off next time. I know this was kind of a long episode, 2 full areas, Greenpath, Fungal Wastes, but it's been a good episode. We met Hornet, we got Dash, we got the Mantis Claw, and made a lot of progress. Oh, looks like that city crest from the False Knight's coming in handy, Devatron. This is Hollow Knight. We'll see you in the next episode.